Now I'm going to introduce a friend of mine and an amazing person who is slightly older than the average CGI U participant, but perhaps younger at heart. Pete Peterson is a former U.S. Secretary of Commerce, a wildly successful business person, an incredibly generous philanthropist who has an interesting idea about involving the American students here in solving the long-term debt problems of the United States before it can compromise your future. And he's working with a company called Net Impact, and I will introduce the CEO of Net Impact, Liz Maw, after Pete Peterson talks. But I want to bring him out now so that he can announce his proposal and thank him again for being one of the sponsors of CGI U. Pete?
Mr. President, I wish I could magically repeal the 22nd Amendment, restricting the presidency to 2 terms. I have greatly admired the extraordinary range of projects in your foundation in every continent of the world. And I believe history will judge you as the best post-president ever. Some of you might ask, what about George Washington? Actually, I knew George well. And he was no Bill Clinton when it came to prison. Mr. President, I'm also admiring of your charisma. I've been loaded with what you might call negative charisma. I'm often asked why I'm devoting so much of my resources and myself to this foundation. As the President has indicated, doing something about the long-term debt that I consider to be a transcendent threat to our collective future. And because I am the luckiest of American dreamers, I want to be sure the American dream is there for your generation. Just a few words about my background. My parents were Greek immigrants who came here at age 17 with only a few pennies in their pocket, 3rd grade education, and not a word of English. My father went out to Nebraska, took a job washing dishes in a caboose in the railroad because no one else would take it. And he was able to sleep there and eat there and save everything he made. And he opened the inevitable Greek diner, not known well for its cuisine, but for the fact that it was open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for 25 years. And after 25 years, when it came time to shorten the hours, he had to get a locksmith because the front door had never been closed before. And their concept of the American dream was that their sons would do better and that they would get the best education money could buy. And they did that. And my main purpose now, because I am this lucky beneficiary, is I want your generation to have the same opportunity that I had. Now, I know how deadly dull the subject of debt can be. I even terrorized terrorists For example, I was introduced the other day by someone you know, Mr. President, Winston Lord, who was ambassador to China, and then he stood up and said, I went down to Guantanamo and I interviewed some of the terrorists, and I discovered that threatening them with a speech by Peterson on the debt was far more effective than waterboarding. So in addressing the long-term debt, as the President implied, we are confronting two risks. One, the possibility of a short-term European-style financial crisis. And the second is a longer-term growth crisis, as huge interest costs crowd out critically needed investments in education, math, science, engineering, infrastructure, and so forth. Now, these unprecedented interest costs are not about the future. They are about the past. Now, there's another pleasant downside. In addition to stagnating wages and in a low-growth economy, if we were to try to finance the current entitlement programs, your taxes would have to double. Now, there are all kinds of special interests you'll find in this political system of ours. They vote, they write their congressmen, they contribute financially, and they usually ask for more breaks, more benefits, more tax breaks when we can't afford what we have now. What we're critically lacking in this country is a new kind of special interest, a special interest of the general interest, a special interest of the future, a special interest of the young and their parents. Now, a famous German theologian named Bonhoeffer once said, "The ultimate test of a moral society is the kind of world it leads to its children. And in the inevitable political battle, you will have the political multiplier that comes with this moral force. And nothing would do this cause more good than 100,000 of you and your parents marching in Washington to the movie Network, which some of you at least may recall, certainly the President will, we're madder than hell and we're not going to take it anymore." And nothing would do more to move this cause than to have that kind of a march on Washington. So thank you for joining us in this crusade for America's future and your future. Good luck in the competition, and thank you again, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you.
The commitment here by the Peterson Foundation and by Net Impact is to actually challenge students at universities to figure out how to involve their fellow students in, first of all, supporting and then taking action to deal with the long-term debt problem. And partnering with the Peterson Foundation will be Net Impact, whose mission is to inspire, educate, and equip people to use the power of business to create social and environmental good. It is one of the most influential networks of students and professionals anywhere in the world today. They have 250 chapters in cities throughout the United States and the world. They're headquartered in San Francisco, and their executive director, Liz Ma, is here with us, so I'd like to ask her to come out and talk a little bit about what they're going to do to make this work. Liz?
Have you ever had a campaign concept or phrase stick in your head? Friends don't let friends drive drunk. It gets better. Got milk? Campaigns like that make people act differently, whether that's stopping something or starting something or making a purchase. Would you like to learn how to make people act differently? The Up to Us project is your chance to learn how to do that on a critically important issue facing our country. Our country's fiscal and economic priorities are important for everyone in this room and everyone back on your campus. Next fall, Net Impact will provide selected student teams with an outstanding leadership and campaign development experience. You'll learn how to drive action from social media gurus. You'll learn how to organize events from logistics professionals. You'll learn how to create buzz from the kind of people who got this great man sitting to my left elected to office. Next winter, your team will run the initiative on campus. You might decide to do a catchy marketing campaign. You might decide to run workshops or rallies or petitions. It's up to you. We can't wait to see what you come up with. And next spring, a year from now, you will be up here on this stage with President Clinton and Mr. Peterson, who will recognize you for the change that you've helped to spark on campus. You'll be changing the heads, the hearts, and the actions of your fellow students around our country's fiscal future. Who's in? Awesome, thank you. Net Impact is about training future leaders to solve problems. We do this through our campus network on over 225 universities, through our student skill building projects like the Up to Us initiative, and through our online career development resources. Starting today, we'll be collecting names of students interested in bringing this event and competition to their campus. You can go right there to that URL, netimpact.org/uptous, to sign up to learn more, and we'll keep you up to breast as the campaign developments. I hope you do sign up. It's up to us. It's up to you. Thank you.